In the next 10 minutes, I'll be showing you why this 3DS is unrepairable. And comment down below if you like these kinds of videos and consider dropping a sub below. I have a black Nintendo 3DS here. Oh, I can see that the inner frame is not attached to the outer frame, so... And also the L and R button cables are turned off. No, we'll take care of that later. I'll just put this back, and I want to turn on the console, so... Let's see if it works. Well, let me power it on. Okay, we have a red light, or blue light. Let's see if it powers on. Oh, it does power on, that's good. So there's no issue with the camera or speaker, but the bottom screen seems to be not working. So let me test that touchscreen. So, oh yeah, it does work. Let me see. I mean, it does register, so the digitizer is working. Let me test out if the buttons joystick will work. Yeah, it does work. I do hear the sound. So we definitely need to check out the bottom screen. So let's tear this console down and see what's wrong. To start, we have to remove this back plate by unscrewing these 4 screws, so let's start by unscrewing them. And now we can lift up this plate to reveal the battery. So I'll take out the battery to inspect it. Sometimes the batteries do get bloated, so you have to check that out. This battery seems to be in good condition, so that's good. Now to reveal the motherboard, we have to lift up this plate by removing these screws, but luckily the previous owner removed it for us and tore up the L and R cable, so that's something we have to fix. As you can see, they're torn off pretty badly, so we definitely have to replace both of them. But before I replace the L and R cables, I want to check out the bottom screen. I may have a quick solution, so I have to remove this SD card slot out of the way. So basically, sometimes you need to reinstall the cables in this one. I mean, generally you have to do these for the top screen or camera or speaker because it pops and turns off. Maybe somebody didn't reinstall them correctly, but I don't know. It might work on this bottom screen. Let's try it. I'm really curious. That's the first method of approaching these kind of repairs. So before I take apart the entire bottom screen, I mean, let's give it a try. I'll install this plate back on with the battery, so let's test it. Oh wait, we forgot to install the SD card slot. Okay, let's quickly install that back. So we have to attach it like that. I don't think we need to screw it in for now. Let's just test it. So after I install that, I'll put this plate back on with the battery. Okay, so let's now turn it on to see if the bottom screen works. Come on. Oh yeah, it does work. See, I told you. Sometimes you need to approach it smarter, not harder. Okay, I think our main focus should be on replacing the L and R buttons. And, oh, also, I forgot to check the charging port. So, I'm going to use a cable to see if it works. Oh no, it doesn't seem to be working. Oh, partially. Oh no, there's definitely a problem with the charging port as well. So, let me retry that. I mean, it does work, but when I move it around, so we definitely have to take a look at that charging port. Okay, so I'll close up the console and let's remove the motherboard to check it out. So one thing I want to try is I'll push down this flap on the charging port to see if to lock in the cable a bit better. So let's try it with that. This rarely solves it. Oh no, it doesn't solve it. So, oh yeah, it's also moving as well, so there might be some cold solder on there. We might have to resolder or put in a new charging port. Let's take out the motherboard and see what's wrong. So to remove the motherboard, I have to remove these 4 screws. There's normally 12 on the XL model, but there's 4 on the normal one. Now we have to remove the SD card slot by unscrewing these 2 screws. And I'll just take it out from its slot. And I'll unscrew the 2 screws on the joystick module. And pop out the microphone and the Wi-Fi card, along with the bottom screen. And I'll pop out the joystick module like this and remove it from its slot. And I'll remove the speaker cable and the camera cable along with the top screen cable. And now we have isolated our motherboard and we can take a look at that charging port. And looking at the motherboard, it does look pretty clean, so that's definitely good. Like I said, it does seem to be moving, so I want to replace the charging port just to be safe. So I have attached the motherboard to these helping hands and I'll apply some solder flux around the charging port so it'll help remove it from the motherboard. So let's see, I'll apply it like this with my syringe. Then I will use some hot air to melt the solder flux so it absorbs the heat of the gun. So I'll just apply some heat around the pins. And we need to be careful not to get heat on those plastic parts, not to melt the charging port or any other components on the motherboard. And that should be enough, so I think I can pull it out right now. Yeah, there we go. Oh, there's still 1 pin attached. And we can remove it like this. I can see one problem here. As you can see, there's 2 pads which there's no solder on. Before we fix anything, I want to give this a good cleaning with some IPA so it doesn't get corroded. Now what I will do is, oh quick, let me check if the soldering iron is hot enough. Yeah, I will apply some light flux on these pads which do not have solder on, so it absorbs the solder when I heat it up. So let me quickly heat it up with my soldering iron. Yep. So then I will just put some soldering wire on there while heating it up at the same time. It should absorb it immediately, the solder flux. Yep, like that. That's the first one, and let me do the second one as well. And there we go. Now we can install the charge port back. I will install it like the way I removed it. I will heat up the pads and attach the pins connected to the charging port onto the motherboard. So there's 6 pins in total, so I'll just heat them up like this. And that should be the last pin. And now I will clean up with some IPA again to avoid corrosion on the charging port, which is very important. We don't want to get any flux on the charging cable. So now let's test it to see if it works. So I'll attach the charging cable, and let's see. Yep, feels good. Now let's check the light. Yes, it does work. That's great. Okay. Now that we have fixed up the motherboard by installing a new charging port, we can now start by putting back the console. I'll take the base of the console. I need to fix up the Wi-Fi antenna so we don't crush it with the motherboard. And I'll start by installing the top screen cable. This has to be installed first because we need to fold down the motherboard onto the cable. So I'll just put it in its slot and I'll close the flap down, and now we can close down the motherboard. And I have to remove that Wi-Fi card. And we have to put it in its slot, so it is a bit tough to get it in. So yeah, let me match it down. Let's see, okay, I got it. And now I'll continue on by installing the camera and speaker cable by inserting them into their slots and pulling the flap down. And I'll screw in the motherboard from under the SD slot and the left of the charge port, like this. And I'll install the joystick module by aligning it with the joystick itself. It is a bit hard. Now I'll install the SD card slot, and we're done. Now before I attach the battery and test it, you remember at the start of the video the L and R cables were turned off from the outer plate, so we have to replace those. So since only the cables were turned off, the module itself is still inside the plates, so I'll have to unscrew it and remove it myself. As you can see, it came off, and I'll have to do that from the right one as well. So I'll just remove the module itself. So I have my replacement cables here from L and R buttons. So I'll just put the L one in and the R one inside the socket. I have to carefully align that as well. And I'll put in the black plate, holding it down, and screw it in. And that's for the left one. And for the right one is a bit tricky, so you have to remove that battery cover to install the black plate. It goes under it, so I'm just gonna have to put the black plate in first. Yeah, like that. And I'm gonna have to install the battery plate on top of it and screw it in. And there we go, that should do it. So now that we have completed all of our repairs to the motherboard and replaced the L and R buttons as well as fixing the bottom screen, I want to quickly attach the L and R cables so we can test it properly. So I'll close this flap down like this. Yeah, ensure it's in there. So let's ensure it's really in there. I'll also screw in this back plate. I mean, Nintendo really overdid with the screws over here. There's a lot of screws to screw in. This took a little while for me to screw in. You shouldn't forget the little screw on the top. So I'll attach the battery in and let's turn it on to see if it works. Come on. I'll also reattach the charging cable to test it while the motherboard is installed with the battery. So let me plug it in. It does work, but there seems to be a problem with the bottom screen. It seems to be blackened, but the buttons work. The touchscreen seems to work, yes. Oh, what could be causing this? We did plug it back in. So let's close it up and replace that bottom screen. I tore down the console again, so let's remove this digitizer off from our old bottom screen. I'll put that on the side, and I'll put this digitizer onto the frame, like that, so we can just put in our new bottom screen on top of it. And let me just push it in. Yep. There was already adhesive, so it should stick in. So let me see. Yeah, it does look good. It does look perfectly matched, so I'll close it up and let's test it again. So I'll reinstall the console. Let's turn it on. We have to charge it as well. Come on. Oh no. The bottom screen has a weird... Oh no, it doesn't work. I don't know how to fix this. I mean, we changed the screen. I mean, we reattached everything. I mean, I'm out of ideas, so write down below in the comments if you guys know any way of fixing this type of issue. I'll be sure to look out for that, and I think I have to deem this console unfixable, so I mean, I'll make a video if I ever find a solution, but for now, this console is unfixable.